Into the Cypher. Prepare for another all-nighter.
On the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
You know, I'm a geek when it comes to a lot of stuff, but particularly baseball. I watch way too much MLB Network for a normal person. Watching a lot the last 2 weeks, a lot of blown calls by the umps. Like a ridiculous amount. Like yesterday in the Giants-Rockies game, there were two guys who were clearly out at the plate. The ump is in perfect position to see these plays, and he still blows them. I mean, are you pro or con for instant replay in baseball?
I think there's a place for instant replay in baseball. I think.
How far would your place be?
Say that again?
How far would you make your place for this in baseball?
You don't want it to be too overwhelming because it changes the nature of the game. Like every call, shouldn't be able to be under instant replay. But I think I'd like to see it in the playoffs. Because here's my thing. In the regular season, there's going to be some calls that are not going to go your way. But that can't be the entire reason that you lost the game. You know what I mean? Playoff time, yes. Institute it so, that's a different scenario. But during the regular season, every call is not going to go your way. Heck, we've been seeing this in the NBA playoffs for a minute. Mm-hmm. We see it in football. So it's part of the landscape of it's the human factor of having referees and umpires. It blows our mind sometimes. They can miss a call when it's so obvious, and you're watching on TV and you're like, oh my God, that they're absolutely safe or they're absolutely out. Mm-hmm. I say it needs to be instituted in the playoffs. In the regular season, it needs to be extremely modified. I don't want it to stop the flow of the game because baseball already can be slow as it is.
I think with those other two sports, basketball and football, at least they have it. They have it at their disposal. But I was listening to watching the Cubs the other day, and Lynn Casper was saying something about they should put it on a timer. They could have it except for balls and strikes, obviously.
Right.
But then have it on a timer to where if they don't have the call, at a certain amount of time after the timer goes off, then the original call will stand. I think that's like an excellent idea.
That would be a way to handle it. I think that's fair. That would be one way to handle it so it doesn't become too demonstrative of the entire game. I can see that. That makes sense.
So I don't know. I really would like to see that. I think it would be a major improvement on the game.
It's definitely long. It's long overdue. It's long overdue because we know there's human error, and I think especially when you get into the playoff series, you don't want a game, even if it's a multi-game playoff. That one blown call can cost you winning a game in the playoffs, and that's when it means more. But like I said, regular season is a long season, and I'm pretty sure you didn't get that many calls that took you out of playoff contention.
But then again, the extra wild card, now it could cost you a playoff spot possibly. One game here or there could be the difference, like with the Oakland-Cleveland game a few weeks ago with the home run that would have won the ball game for the A's, or tied it up, I think. They hit a home run in Cleveland. And it was obviously that it was over the yellow line. It was completely obvious. But the ump still, after he reviewed it, still called it a double. So you don't want, for the A's, if you're an A's fan, to come back and you wind up losing, particularly to the Indians, by a game in a playoff spot. Everybody's going to point to that game, say, we could at least got us a one-game playoff if that call went different. So.
Well, at the same time, don't make it come to that. I'm just saying, I don't want the regular season to get so bogged down because baseball is already slow in its own right, which I personally enjoy. It doesn't bother me that it's slow at all.
I love the fact that it doesn't have a timer or anything like that when it comes to that. Yeah.
The game just flows, and that will change a bit of how it flows. But if they can, what Lynn Casper said makes sense. If they can put some parameters into place that it doesn't become too consuming, I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's good, like if every manager gets one, to question something. Maybe, because, and that means that they would really consider what they wanted to challenge because they only have just that one opportunity to do it. So, that's another possibility.
I don't know about challenges in baseball. I don't think those guys are too hyper. They're a little more hyper than that other sport. It seems like. I know it's probably not the truth. It seems like they're a little more hyper when it comes to the calls than the other sports coaches and managers
you're right.
are.
It's not about balls and strikes. That's not it. It's nothing about the plate stuff. That is what it is. This is more about what's happening on the bases, that kind of stuff. And think about it. You would, to me, if you're gonna put instant replay in baseball, you want to put that power in the manager's hand to decide. Maybe, like I said, it's only one a game. What they want to question as a call, because I don't think they wouldn't just challenge everything.
What about, though, with balls and strikes? People are so quick to rule that out, but why? Why?
Because here's the thing. The strike zone, it expands and it shrinks.
But why, though? Why does it do all these things? What I'm saying, why can't there be a uniform strike zone? Is that something that would take away from the excitement of the game?
Because unless we're all about to be bionic, like bionic eyes, that's part of the reason why it expands and it shrinks. Because you have a person behind the catcher who is looking at the ball from their perspective. So hence, everybody doesn't see it the same way. Even how we see a pitch on TV is not how the umpire sees it. So that's the human element that you can't control, and that's why you can't sit there and negate every pitch. It just wouldn't make any sense.
What about, I'm just throwing stuff against the wall right now. What about having umpires calls for all the other calls except for balls and strikes? Don't they have, what's the thing they had in the system they were putting in some of the stadiums to where they were
K-zone?
K-zone, yeah. So what about having them do balls and strikes and then let the umps do everything else?
But see, that takes away the human touch of the game. I mean, come on. That's part of baseball, is the umpire behind home plate. You can't take that away. That changes the dynamic of the experience. You can't do it.
I think I'm being swayed by the geeks. I think I'm kind of going over towards the modernization.
No,
I think personally I'm kind of going away. I'm kind of teetering here into being a sabermetric / everything done by computers type of guy now.
See,
a techno guy.
You're losing your soul.
I know. I'm selling out.
You're losing your soul. You better stop.
I'm selling out.
You better stop.
But I mean, because when you look at why are you getting these obvious calls? I think if they weren't so obvious, it probably wouldn't be as bothersome to me. But when they're just completely blown,
but think about it.
You know,
it also, to a degree, brings a little bit of controversy to the game. It makes it a little interesting. I mean, think about if you called the game how they called it 50 years ago. It was pretty clean cut and dry. There was no arguing calls. The managers probably weren't as animated, and I'll say 60 years ago. So sometimes a poor call creates a little bit of intrigue and drama to the game. It gives baseball a little bit of life, to be honest, because sometimes it can be a little dead, occasionally.
So you think that's what Selig is possibly thinking? Like, I don't want to add all of this because I like the sport being talked about.
Yes.
I like it being a lead story. I like everybody saying, well, why isn't this happening? Kind of like the whole thing with the BCS. They are getting off on people hating the BCS because it's bringing, a spotlight to
a little controversy. What's my fellow's name in Dallas? Kevin in
Keith,
Dallas.
I think.
Keith, Kevin, are you listening? Anyways, a little controversy is healthy for the game. That's just the bottom line. And baseball, think about it. Where else do you really get the controversy outside of a miss or blown call? Think about how much controversy has been in the NBA right now about some of the officiating.
Whew.
I mean, seriously.
Well, everybody in Chicago thinks the officials are out to get the Bulls.
Seriously,
so yeah.
it enraged people. I mean, so it gives baseball a little bit of controversy. And like I said, it's still the human aspect of it that you don't want to take away. So no K-zone. That's just a bad idea. But I'm okay with some form of an instant replay putting in that doesn't bog the game down. And I think it's possible. I don't think it's difficult to come up with what you can review and what you can't review.
I think they might be kind of leaning towards some form of it because you saw where umpire Fielding Colbert he blew the home run call. He was suspended for a couple of games, and they put that out in the media. Like, when did they ever start doing that? So I think baseball itself is kind of teetering in themselves. They're not going to just outright do it unless someone blows like Game 7 of the World Series with a bad call. But I think it's kind of coming their way a little bit, I think.